Tonight I'm really excited about this event. I've had a lot of people asking to do something around AI and product, and I sort of, myself and the team had kind of been resisting it a bit because there is so much bullshit out there on GenAI right now. And please, excuse my language, but I cannot think of another word for it right now. I've been to a lot of AI talks. The best ones that I went to were ones where I heard stories from people who were actually using GenAI in their day-to-day. And I don't know, how many people in the room have actually had a go at some GenAI tool? Just any tool? Pretty much everyone. And I don't know about you, but what I found is that this tool will definitely do this thing, and I'll start using it and go, oh no, actually it doesn't, or it can't, or it won't, or it's got the wrong inputs, or it's got the, I haven't been able to get the data right for it, and I start wishing for a data science team to build me a bespoke model. And what I thought was, well, actually, let's get some people together to help tell our audience about how they've actually used GenAI in the real world to do real things. And also, I'm also going to be particularly excited about Natalie at the end, who'll be telling us about some of the pitfalls, some of the things to be aware of when you're working with your executives on GenAI as well. So yeah, so really excited. No pressure at all. So really looking forward to the talk. Massive thanks to Perrin and AcademyEX for hosting us. Perrin and I were talking about this event, and so I'll host you. And then I said, can you sponsor it? And I said, yes. And I'm like, yay! So big round of applause for AcademyEX. Of course, a massive thanks to our speakers, Addie, John, and Natalie, as well as Perrin, who will be speaking tonight. So with that, I think it's far more than enough prattling on from me. I will welcome Perrin to kick us off.
Oh, thank you. Right, so I use, maybe 6 months ago, I went out on, I was using a free version of ChatGPT, and I was like, I don't see what all the hype is about. Like, I couldn't figure out, every time I put it out, I was, empowered. I mean, it was like being in a McKinsey presentation. Like, it was like, you're empowered and engaged to do all these things. And
I don't know why that hasn't changed.
It's on this one.
Oh, because that's all good.
So Anthony asked me, he's like, what 3 tools do you use every day? And what I did is I sort of went in order of newness. And the thing is that I'm using new tools almost every day now at this point, because a new one comes out every 15 seconds. And trying stuff is probably the greatest skill that you get in using generative AI or machine learning tools now. And we held an AI pop-up lab here about 5 months ago. And the biggest challenge we had was trying to figure out, like, what tools should we put in that will demystify what these tools do. And because fundamentally the challenge that we were seeing from our learners and our community was not that they didn't understand that AI was a big thing, or they weren't even that afraid of doing it. They just didn't want to get on it and screw it all up. They were really afraid of making a mistake. So we had to create a sandbox that allowed them to come on and start pressing buttons and realizing that A, they couldn't really break anything, B, it wasn't going to follow them into their next life with their credit scores and like imminent jail, and 3, what was the sort of doorknob information that they needed in order to get started? Because oftentimes a lot of these tools sort of show up and it looks like they're in mid-use. So you're like, well, what do I do to make it work? How do I make what's the prompt that I need to do? What does all of that look like? So in order of newness, I probably spend most of my time on ChatGPT and Claude. And the advice on that is, let's see if I can do this properly. Nope, I can't. The advice on that is, again, to go out and spend the time on the thing that you need to practice. Nope, that's not it. So you find the tab window that you're going to work within and do it that way. Nope, that's just my LinkedIn. You can follow me on that. Print, thank you. You're very kind. This is fun. This is having a good time. All right, so we're going to open a new window because apparently that's what we're going to do. So, and I've done 3 things in ChatGPT that have changed my life completely. One is I've built my own bot. And I've needed it for marketing, because a lot of things that I like to use chat, or rather, hey! All right, I'm stopping that. So there's three things. One is I started off with projects. So I know it's for a lot of you, you've all seen this, but sometimes I think it's just that little doorknob stuff that really helps. And if it all really goes to pot, look, you can change colors. Did you know? I didn't know. So you can make it all so now you've got even colors to choose between the things. I started off in these areas just feeding it as much as possible. And when it started off, yeah, everything was the same language. But now actually it's gotten to the point where I can put in minimal noise and it starts to come out with exactly what I need. And to give you an idea, before we were using this to write social media posts that poor Maheshi and I were getting absolutely no response to. Now it's able to generate with very little editing responses that have increased our engagement rate by 75%, which is huge. And as someone who's not a marketer, and they make it look really hard, this is a big thing for us because it's really super simple and it doesn't take a lot of time. From that, we built a bot. It's the AcademyEX Story Crafter. You can find it on the bot shop if you want to. I don't know where it is. But even now, it's gotten to the point where I can generate something really fast. I've told it about 27 times not to use emojis. It still doesn't believe me. But other than that, again, we're feeding it every single day, and it's gotten to the point now that it can generate really fast. The really cool part, though, I don't know if any of you have purchased, first of all, just buy it. Like, I know the free thing is nice, but just invest, buy one tool that you're gonna use a lot of. This one is great because I just learned that Sam Altman is absolutely competitive, and he's going to make sure that every feature that is showing up in any other chat, any other GPT is gonna show up in this one. So you might as well just invest and learn this tool really, really well. What I love about the most recent ChatGPT 4 is tasks. Have any of you used tasks? Oh, my friends, tasks is awesome. So one of the things, what it does is it sets a reminder and it does things for you every day. So what I've asked this task to do is every morning at 8 a.m., provide me with the latest AI trends, funding news, and regulations related to AI and product management. And it says, great, got it, I'll provide that every morning at 8 a.m. And so every morning at 8 a.m., it searches the web for me, it curates the news that I need to see, and it brings it through. And I gotta tell you, it's stuff that I don't even expect. But more importantly, it gives me the sources. So again, I can start to assess, is this worthwhile, is this not worthwhile? And having that kind of reminder means that I can set and forget my research parameters, and then I can adjust it as I need to go by. So every morning, I can start my day going, what is the things that I need to know? Now, what I've gotten really clever is I've hooked this up to my Google Calendar, so I'm also like, hey, what do I need to have prepared for today? You know, you have to do that. You know, we've all read Atomic Habits, right? And like you have to sit down and you go, what's my thing I'm gonna get done today? What's my big three? Like now it's generating this for me every single day, so when I check in, it's like having a personal assistant that just sort of sets me off. It makes me exceptionally lazy and prone to disaster, but I love it because I no longer have an EA. So this is where I've really gone to town. What we're also trying to get it to do is, I want to turn our bot into an agent. Our agent will sit on top of our website, and what it will do is we'll be constantly monitoring the content that we have on our website and editing it as we need fit. So when we have a new intake, all I have to say is, hey, can you remove all mention of the February intake, return it up to the July intake, which by the way is our next intake, come see me if you're interested. And it reiterates all of the content, new scholarship dates, and the whole 9 yards. So I no longer have to go page by page into the CMS, it's just scrolling across constantly, picking out errors, making sure that links are live, all that sort of stuff. And every single day, it gets better. Those of you who are lucky enough to be here on Tuesday? In the past, of yore. Earlier this week, we had Matt Ensor talking about AI and all of the cool things that it does. I was taking notes. And he said something really interesting, which is right now is the slowest and oldest anything will ever be. So, you know, it's the AI that we have today is like 10x what it was a month ago. It's 100x what it was last year. Like, forget about it. And so there's no better time to get started and to keep learning and making it work for you. Now we get into some fun new stuff. So how many of you hang out on Google Labs? Okay, another cool place to go hang out. Google Labs, super cool. according to this bad answer guy, the only thing worthwhile that's coming out of Google right now is Notebook LLM. Do we all love Notebook LLM? Yeah, that's a good one. What I'm really enjoying is Whisk. Now, I had a whole thing set up, and it was freaking awesome, and like, man, you guys would have like been amazed. But here's a picture from me today, and I'm going to turn myself into a plushie, and then we all go ooh. Now, Whisk came out about last weekish, and I have a real problem in the organization, which is that I sometimes have students who are not super stoked for me to take pictures of them and don't want to be on our website. Now, this is a problem for me because I'm actually selling a lot. There I am. Is that, see? Aww. Who wants that? Like, hi, Christmas present, please. Like, turn me into this. And so the challenge that I've got is, you know, how do I take these students and how do I anonymize them yet still keep the vibrancy going on? Or, more importantly, here is, I spent an embarrassing number of dollars working with a model, creating a brand campaign, setting up an event process, like the whole 9 yards. And I only got a year, an astronomical sum of money for a year of being able to use this person's image, right? And she's fabulous and I love her and she's great, but again, I can't even tell you how many zeros in front of the decimal point that it cost me to be able to use this. But what I love about Whisk that I don't get out of Midjourney is I literally can just start anonymizing using plain English. So I no longer have to know about aperture, I no longer have to talk about like camera heights, I don't have to talk about anything. And actually, I can start to, she's way too young, but I can actually start to do things like, okay, make her 10 years older, and eat an ice cream. All right, just eat an ice cream. And what it will do, and you'll see. Hey, she's eating an ice cream. Now, and what's great about this again is I don't have to manipulate this using code. I don't have to manipulate this using camera rights. Like I literally can go in there, adjust it a variety of ways, just plainly through plain text. Again, this has only been about a week old. I've already gotten about 6 or 7 artifacts for the website. I've already pulled it into a pitch deck that we had to pull out, and my brand storyteller / marketing person has literally sent me 4 to 5 pictures every single day going, look what I did now! And if you wanted to follow her online, she's posted all of those pictures on LinkedIn. Her name's Monique Doy. Go give it a like. She'll freak out and love it. But this is someone who a week ago couldn't understand how to make images work and was going, Perrin, I need us to pull together at least 25 grand to do another photo shoot. And now is going, actually, I think we can do this. I think we can take what we've got and start to use it in a way that actually allows us to do more with less. And as an educational team that doesn't have a huge marketing budget, this is a godsend. All right, Captain Yoink, how am I going with time? Okay, here's the particular, okay, last bit is we'll go back to the thing, which, oh God, this is gonna be a nightmare. We're gonna do the best we can, people. Yes, all right, so last but not least, journey maps. Who loves them? Hey, that's more than I thought. Oh, here's me. Slideshow. Don't know how to use a computer. All right, here's me. That's me being whisked, and that's me whisked being ice cream. Same exact prompt into Midjourney. Apparently, I don't even know what's happening in the top right. I don't know who that is me apparently doing something. And then that's like Karen, who I used to work for, and I don't even know who that is. I mean, these are all like same prompt, and that's what came out of that, which is just, I mean, ugh. Anyway. Last but not least, okay, journey maps. Journey maps, really annoying. They are, oh God, I've built hundreds of thousands of journey maps, and the experience is great, but they get a little weird. Like some people get really like into their journey maps. I met one guy, and he was like, "Here's my 8-foot journey map," and I'm like, "That's a little personal." And he was really into the size of his journey map, and I was like, shouldn't it be more about like what's in the map? And thank you. And you know, the experience of them and the aha moments, I really believe in them. But the challenge they've got is once you kind of get them into an artifact and beautifully designed, they kind of become art. And that idea of how do you drive insights out into that. And furthermore, when I was working at Westpac, we were working really hard to get our value chains connected to our journey maps. And the reason for that is it's the full way that you can understand what the organization is doing in order to create customer value. Too often the value chain ends at the person who's providing the service. You don't get the customer layer on top of that. Too often the customer journey map has absolutely nothing to do with the business. Furthermore, no customer's experience is linear. Every journey map is linear because it's the only way we can make sense of it. And finally, a journey map without data is just nice, but how many times have we seen data actually showing up live inside of a map, right? So this is Mulapin. It's still in development. If you're interested in this, come see me afterwards. I'll help like set you guys up. And what this tool does is you upload your business process models or your business architecture, you connect in the personas that you have created, you throw in a few of your, and UXPin will do this, a few of your user flows, and then you connect it via API to all of your data. So your customer, your VOC, your customer ease scores, if you're smart enough to be doing that, your customer satisfaction scores, if you've guys got that figured out. Now, for any of you who are working in an organization of more than 10 people, already you know all those scores are being collected differently by different people with different forms, with different data, with different. What this does is it says, doesn't matter, pull it all in. We connect it to where it is inside the business model. It connects up to the journey, and all of a sudden you have a line. Where the AI comes in is that you can use AI to interrogate your journey maps and your data as a holistic system. So it's no longer one journey map with one data going out across. It's all your journey maps in a cohesive customer holistic system that you can then interrogate with AI. So you can ask now your business. So it's no longer a linear journey map. It actually shows how your customer actually engages with your organization. What's frustrating our customers that we should prioritize improving after analyzing it with data support? What are the 3 most positive experiences? Identifies it for you and indicates where it goes, which is, I don't know about you, but the freaking coolest thing I've ever seen. If you move forward, all right, last one, Anthony, I promise. If you wanted to create a new map, again, what you now have is a live map creator, so anyone can kind of go in, generate out a map from the data that's existing. You no longer have to, sit down and interrogate everybody. It lives up, and you can build it out entirely. What this means is that for the first time ever, customer information can now sit at the board level, and it can now actually start to compete along with risk and financial measures. As a customer advocate, it's pretty awesome. So come see me if you're interested. I believe that's time.
Right, good evening everyone. So my name is Adi. I am the product lead at VidApp. So the next 10 minutes we'll be talking about how to supercharge your product development capabilities when resource is scarce, aka doing product like a wizard. So to give some context, so I work at a small startup called VidApp, so we provide a white label solution for content creators. So think of Shopify, but for video content. For Shopify for video content. So we provide white label solution for content creators to manage and customize custom branded apps, essentially. So we've got 5 different product areas here across 3 different teams with 1 product person in me and 1 designer. So you could imagine how sometimes, well, a lot of the times, resource could be spread very, very thin. So this is where we're gonna go through a few examples across these 3 different product development areas in engineering, design, and product. So hopefully it'll be valuable for everyone here. Right, so example number 1. engineering. So this came about when I had a question of, what's actually our viewership data across all of our apps, which we have hundreds of. This is usually, or should be, easy to get if you have product analytics implemented, and unfortunately for us, we didn't. What we did have was a bunch of queryable databases. So with this example, I started off with getting a sample data from AWS. We used services like DynamoDB, IDS and stuff. Copy and paste it into ChatGPT in this instance, telling them a bit about what I'm trying to do and what tool I'm using. Hey, I'm trying to get some insight from another tool called OpenSearch. This is sample data. Can you please tell me, what the query is to get viewership by week throughout, say, 2024? It gives me a pretty accurate query that I could copy and paste straight away. Search, had a back and forth conversations, tweaked the output slightly, actually ended up refining the question a little bit, and ended up thinking, well, hey, actually it'll be pretty cool if you can have sort of like analysis about the ratio between engagement metrics and viewership metrics. So ideally what you want to see is the more views you have across the apps, the more engagement you see, right? And I asked ChatGPT in this instance to analyze the data set that I've given through a CSV file. It did this thing and give me an update. Boom. So not really what we want to see. We were expecting or hoping for an upward trend line. Again, the more viewership you have, ideally the more engagement you have. But this is, it is what it is. It's not all doom and gloom. We saw this as sort of like a good starting point. It didn't really actually conclude anything because there are way too many different factors that could impact on this. Like seasonal effects, for example, like client tuning, new clients signing up, maybe the new clients don't have as many engaged members just yet. Although it didn't really, provide you with sort of like a conclusion or anything, it did give us a starting point to ask more questions. Hey, do we have a good definition of what engagement is within the app? Was this as a result of like something else? It's just like a starting point to go deeper into this particular research question. And most importantly as well, it also gave me a bit of ammunition to rationalize and to investing in product analytics. Based on this, like, hey, we've got a whole bunch of things that we don't really know here. Let's focus on this, in the near future. So, good win at the end of the day. All right, chapter 2. So, at times, as product people, it might be a bit hard to fully articulate your product vision or the end goal of a epic feature, whatever, you name it, right? So how do we actually go about doing this? Usually you'd kindly ask your designer, like, hey, can you please provide a mock-up? This is the parameters, this is the requirements, blah, 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 please do your thing. So for us, we had one designer across 4 different work streams. It was very, very stretched already. Didn't want to really bother him. So this is where my friend Vo comes in. So V0 or V0.dev is an awesome tool to spin up quick prototypes. So essentially what you do is just go to the dashboard, give it like a quick prompt. As you can see here, I've explained the business model that we have. Here we've got a business model similar to Netflix. I'm trying to prototype a member details page. Please help me out. This is the user stories and requirements. And we went back and forth across, tweaking the output a little bit and refining the requirements as well. So at the end of the day, what came about is this awesome, hi-fi, clickable prototype that probably would take a designer multiple days, right? This is not something, big disclaimer, this is not something that we're going to be taking into production, right? So this is just a quick prototype to provide people an illustration of what it could look like that I could take to a kickoff meeting, right? So at times you could. Thanks, Ross. Well, finally enough, if you connect it to your GitHub, you can actually ship that. I'm not touching that. Yeah, so with things like like product kickoff or like epic kickoff, sometimes you could write as many user stories or PIDs as you like, and different stakeholders would read it. Because they're not in your day-to-day meeting, you'll come up with totally different understanding of what it is. So I feel like an illustration would provide this clarity of what the end goal is.
Can you upload like existing products so it kind of matches the style of your existing stuff?
No, or I attempted to, but because it doesn't have your design system and stuff. So what I did was like, hey, this is kind of like the end goal. Well, not that I have, I have tried, not that I could see, but there might be, I don't know, certain hacks or prompts out there somewhere. I don't know. Yeah. Cool. Product, fun part. Can I get a show of hands here who is the sole product person at the company? Right, but half dozen? All right. And can I also get a show of hands who think that at times during product management can be a bit like this? So, that's me. As a sole product person, sometimes it can be a bit or very lonely. You don't necessarily have someone to quote unquote peer review your work, right? You don't really have someone to like bounce ideas with. So it can be a bit challenging at times, right? So essentially the next challenge is, how do we become less lonely if you're the only product person at the company? I love walking meetings. So unfortunately, VidApp is a remote first company, so I don't really get a lot of opportunities to do those. What I do have is a set of earphones, my ChatGPT app, and a pretty nice neighborhood to walk around in. So on occasionally, or put my earphones on, open up the app, activate voice chat on ChatGPT, talk to my best friend Amber, and then we would just bounce ideas, or I would tell them about, hey, this is my issues, this is what I'm trying to do at the moment. This is the market situation, this is the competitive analysis, what do you think, right? And we'd go have a long walk at a park and have a deep and meaningful conversation. And at the end of it, I would ask for, hey, can you please summarize everything that we've talked about so far? It gives me a very concise and pretty accurate in terms of what we've talked about this whole time. And it gives me an artifact which could resemble like a product strategy doc, really. Before anyone freaks out, no, this is not our product strategy document, and our current strategy is not solely derived by what Amber has said or has told me, or is it? I don't know. So, the main idea here is to once you get this, I compared what we have here with the current existing document that we already had, and the current thinking that we've sort of discussed and have already, just to see if there's any gaps, any challenging thinking that we haven't really considered before, instead of solely relying on Emma or ChatGPT or name your voice chat model. So it's just a good approach to identify any gaps, I would say, and just to challenge your thinking a little bit. Cool, and this brings us back to this diagram, right? I believe that to effectively utilize a GenAI tools in your day-to-day across these product areas, engineering, design, product, what you need is a capital T, and that stands for trust. You'd have to earn the trust of everyone in your company. Your engineering counterpart have to trust that you know what you're doing in the database, that they have to, you they have to trust that you know how to query certain things, and you know, or you care about accuracy and credibility. Your design counterpart has to trust that by providing a mock-up at a kickoff meeting, you're not overstepping any boundaries, right? And ultimately, you have to trust yourself. You have to have the conviction and trust that you know the market and your business more than something like ChatGPT, so that you know when and when not to use the tool, and whether or not an output is solid or credible. So, thank you.
No.
Hi everyone, thank you so much. Just a little thing, I've got some QR codes and stuff, so if you want to scan things, get your phone out for a few things. But hello, I'm John, and some of you have probably attended some of my cohorts and co-ed. I'm currently a product director at Bora. He and I actually started on the same day, so we've gone through the onboarding stuff. I think he's way ahead of me, because I've got a whole bunch of other work to do. But I would love to take you through how I have used AI to really help a lot of product managers from kind of early stage all the way up to senior as well, just get more time back in the day. And really, when I have a lot of people coming through my course, I get this question, which is, what's the most important skill? And there's a ton of skills, right, that we have to do on a daily basis. But without fail, the one that I always come back with is not discovery, not QBRs, not just getting some shit done, but it's communication. We communicate a heck of a lot. That's either going to be through verbal, right, talking one-on-one, we love talking with customers. Well, hopefully we love talking with customers. Sometimes it can be a little stressful. I saw a few smirks there when I said that, so some people do understand how difficult customers can be. We're also talking about peers and counterparts, but also writing down a lot of stuff as well, from defining what that problem is, going through discovery, writing PRDs. I sometimes feel like we just get stuck in a Word doc or Google Docs the entire time, and there's no escape. I will counter that with, I think communication needs to be explicit as well. So you can definitely have implicit things, and people start to fill in the gaps for you, but I like being really explicit with my communication. Now, I think a lot of you have probably come across this a lot when you've used AI to go and write something. It's fantastic. Oh, I can take this one bullet point and create an entire novel. How amazing is that? And then your stakeholder on the other side is like, it's amazing. I can take this entire doc and make it into a bullet point. Kind of feel like AI has probably tricked us, right? Because there's something on the back end going, I've seen that bullet point before. Here's the source. But this is definitely something that we have faced as a product manager. I'm sure you have faced as well, where it's like, hey, I need a business case. Go ahead and just go and write it. Okay, cool, right? And we hurriedly go onto Google, try and find a business case template. We put all those things in, and we spend forever trying to refine that. A lot of the experience that I had when I was an early stage PM was sending that document kind of back and forth to stakeholders. And the one thing that I absolutely hated hearing was, oh, that's really interesting. I don't know what I want, but it's not that. Oh, okay, that's just me writing stuff at 2 AM again, refining this over and over again. And honestly, this is where things like AI really help. And for a lot of us who've had that experience as product managers, we have gone through the hard yards, countless cups of coffee to know some really good templates to write as well. And what I started to do was actually collate and actually get a lot of these templates into one particular area. By the way, if you do access that, yes, that is a website that I made. I am a product manager, not a developer, hence the bones little gif over there. So please know that it's not very responsive. But the great thing about templates is we get to add in all those fields, and often when we are so super busy and running around, we forget stuff. That's why I freaking love templates. Anyone who's ever gone through my fundamentals course will know I probably say that 1,000 times. I freaking love templates, and probably 2x2 and 3x3 grids. But being able to provide AI with that context allows us to actually create something pretty simple. Add that context in, add all those fields in, and actually have a problem statement that is easily read and understood by stakeholders. Now, one of the things that actually did get me to start delving more into this, I am technical enough, I know enough to be dangerous, but a while back, I was tasked with writing a press release working backwards. And this was about 2 years ago, so I thought, just use ChatGPT, it'd be fantastic. Added a few things in. got a press release, sent that to my team, and one of the team members said, "That's great, John, but that's just a word salad. I'm not going to read it." Okay, so you go back and forth, refine and refine and refine. And what I was actually missing was how we could actually take all of those different responses that we do get from AI, giving it context, and actually making sure that it aligns with what message we're actually trying to give our stakeholders as well. For some of you who have used AI, I know it's really tempting to go, "I'll just take the first result." Yeah, that's good enough, isn't it? But quite often it has a weird data set, it has biases and things in there as well. And we actually need to refine that. So having templates, having to know what we're actually going to give the actual AI bot, hopefully something that maybe we've curated through something that we've personally built, through like ChatGPT or creating our own chatbot, it gets better and better over time. For instance, this particular example here is, yes, it has a problem statement, but I've also asked AI to give me a user quote as well, something that can make that problem a little bit more real. That's not me just going to AI and saying, "Give me a problem to solve." It is, I'm giving it context, I'm giving it persona. What do you think a quote would be? The eerily funny thing is, and actually a little bit scary, is quite often when we've taken that problem statement and we've referenced it back into our discovery, and we look at that user quote, it's like, yeah, it's pretty accurate. Wow, okay. So it actually gives us an idea of what users are actually going to be experiencing. So this is the particular problem that I actually find with product management. Right? Like, we're constantly context switching. We have got so much toil to get things done. For some of us, if we are that singular product manager, you are probably stuck in docs the entire time, or constant meetings and jumping around, probably sending people messages, "Hey, I'm 5 minutes late, I'm 10 minutes late." We're having to do a lot of that, and it's a lot on our shoulders as well. Something else that we could do is start to not just look at the problem statement, but actually help us with our language skills as well. I don't know about you, but I suck at English. I've been speaking English for like 43 years of my life. And quite often, when I have to write something like an outcome-based statement for my roadmap, I suck, because I will write something and go, "Is that really an outcome?" And I phrase it more as an output, and this horrible thing comes in where you start to go down that rabbit hole of second-guessing yourself the entire time. And then before you know it, it's 10 p.m. at night and you try to refine just 2 lines of text. What's really great with AI is that you can give it this context. You can say, "Hey, I want to make this outcome-based. Write this for me in such a way." And it's gotten to that point, I think, Perrin, you mentioned as well, is that what we have today is just getting better and better and better. I've been using this for many, many months now, and it's gotten so good at writing outcome-based things that when I put that into the roadmap, it is something easily understood, not just by my stakeholders, but also customers as well. So really simple to do that. Now, to end off, these are some things that I find the core components to actually make GenAI work for you. It is super tempting to write a simple, sentence in ChatGPT and say, "Hey, I've got this research, give me a problem statement." It's going to do some things for you, but it's not really going to refine it. So I absolutely believe that you need to start with the persona. So for instance, if you are looking to refine a problem statement, provide the persona. Lean on your personas as well. That's how we do those things. Like, who's our target customer? Who are we actually doing? Be really explicit about that. Who's actually going to be doing the writing as well? The great thing with AI is it's really good at impersonating people. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing yet, but if you give it the context, "Hey, I'm a senior product manager," or "Hey, I'm a chief product officer," it has some personas that I can actually delve into as well. The next thing we need to do is provide context. You absolutely have to provide the context and the guardrails for it to actually generate that text for you as well. When I've used tools like ChatGPT, you can obviously tweak things to go, "Hey, I want more text or less text." I kind of think that there are some really good chatbots out there that actually have different kind of personas that you can tap into as well. Claude's a really good example of that. So you can start to give things that are more educational, really helpful for me when I'm doing things like collabs, kind of write some of that educational stuff. So provide the context. Be explicit. I know that kind of goes without saying, but we really do need to be explicit. You do need to give a reference. It's trained on something, yes, but you can also provide references to it as well. Claude, again, is really good for that, where you can provide reference. details, articles. You can create your own ChatGPT as well to give it that reference persona. The last one is don't be afraid to actually add some extras. When I started experimenting with looking at AI using templates, one of the things I worked on was, hey, I've got this hypothesis template. I wonder if it could give me a rough timeline. And I know that's something that we kind of get allergic to as PMs, right? When people ask us for a timeline. It will be done when it's done. But if you say, hey, here's the hypothesis, the problem, change it into something else, I'm going to track it with this metric. Give me a brief timeline. What do you think I should do? It's going to use its reference information to actually give you a, hey, here's a bit of an implementation plan. And quite often when I've looked at that, it's not an implementation plan we go live with, by the way. But when I look at it, I go, oh, I didn't think about that. Or I actually didn't think about probably interacting with a product marketing team really early with this. Or, oh, actually, I put some information in there that's going to be more region-based in North America. Oh, I've got to think about like California laws and things like that. It's all the stuff that we just figured out. So, persona, context, be explicit, and don't be afraid to add some extras in there as well. They really help you a lot. So, some key takeaways as I end off on this. Be super explicit. This is one of my biases. A little bit earlier on in that slide, when I was showing that problem statement, I actually did have a generative piece of product manager. I did have to say female product manager, because if you just put product manager in, like 99% of the time, it's a white male guy who looks like me. I don't like looking at myself in the mirror. So be very explicit about that. Lean on the personas that you have. You do that work for a reason. Give it the context. You need to review. You need to refine and repeat. The first result might be amazing, but there could be some really good gold nuggets out there as well. So get into that process of reviewing and refining. By doing this, I have saved myself and the people that I've worked with a heck of a lot of time. And that is something that we can claw back to actually do some pretty valuable things as well. I mentioned at the start, what the most important thing for a product manager is communication. Second most important thing, the focus time. To actually think about stuff, to think about the future, to refine your strategy. Focus time is underrated. So let's go and get some more time back in our lives. Some other examples that I've kind of delved into really help people is things like press releases. You know, with a lot of people kind of moving to that working backwards model from Amazon, we could spend forever and a day gold plating our press releases. Let's use AI to really help us with that. Give me some, customer quotes. Start to flesh up maybe some of that FAQ section as well. That's not going to be our final version. It's going to be probably really easier. We will refine it as well. And lastly, AI is not going to do absolutely everything for you. I would love it to do absolutely everything for you. Kind of feels like when my parents told me that at some point, computers aren't going to do all your writing for you. You still have to do handwriting. Yeah, I still have to do handwriting. But look, it's not going to do absolutely everything for you, but it's going to help you pull that time and do some amazing things. Hopefully, it's going to be able to give you to do the best work of your lives. Awesome. Thank you. I'll look at some of these examples which are really good. So I guess some examples of where I've used things like putting outcome-based roadmap items and things like product board, Jira Discovery. They've got some really great plugins in there as well. If you have not used a tool like Dovetail, for instance, for discovery, oh, it's amazing because it can do things like sentiment and give you, not just transcription from the video, but also tell you where people are getting angry or antsy or really love things as well. There are tons and tons of AI tools that do things really, really well. Templates are fantastic. If you would like to take it a whole lot further and you haven't explored things, go ahead and look at ChatGPT as well. It's freaking amazing. Tons of templates in there. You have to pay for it though, unfortunately. I'm not getting any money out of it. But yeah, tons of stuff out there. Do you want to leave this till the end?
We'll do that at the end, yeah.
Okay, all right. I'll leave that for now. Thank you so much, everyone. Appreciate it.
Hello, I'm Natalie. Kia ora. As you'll read there, I'm an X. Lots of different things, CEO, CCO, CPO, lots of stupid acronyms. At the moment, I mainly do yoga. And I'm mentoring people. So I'm in between jobs, and this has been a good time for that. It's summer, but also it's been the summer of a lot of change in AI. Oops. He actually told me to do that as well.
Yeah.
Quite disobedient too. It's been the summer of change, right? So my opinions of what I knew on AI in September, when I was hard at it, full-time job, blah, blah, blah. Honestly, I was thinking, like, honestly, I've just got enough on my plate. I get it. But do you know what it's actually like over here? I'm just like flat out and, it will take a while. Having the time off, having the creative space, being able to think about my career and the career of other people through the mentoring, it's really made me think, guys, we need to get on this, we need to front foot it. And so, you've had a smorgasbord of perspectives today. My perspective, I'm going to come from the persona of a leader, a hirer, someone who gets sort of given content, but also the perspective of a mentor. So I'm going to channel my dad. So it's the health warning. And I think when we first talked about this, it was a bit like warning you not to go rampant with this and sort of ruin your career by sort of claiming things that were from ChatGPT as your own and all of that sort of thing. If anything, as I get to know people and see what we're doing, I think my health warning is to jump in, guys. It was a fantastic article on the weekend from O'Reilly around the death of software engineers, and it really professed that software engineers are not going to die. We're absolutely going to need them, but the stubborn ones will. Okay, so we have every opportunity to improve on our expertise, to be more productive. Today you've seen lots of productive things. To create brand new products and services that don't exist today. To reimagine our jobs. Product management, they're talking about it's the death of product management, and product management's only been a thing for 10 years. It's just working itself out, right? So instead of being afraid of it or stubborn and whatnot, actually I'm going to move from a health warning of be careful to get the hell into it, right? But do it smartly. Don't burn yourself. So these are the sort of don't burn yourself things. And there's only 3. I won't take long because I'm dead keen to hear how you're using it. But first and foremost, there's so much that you could be using it for, right? Productivity, clearly, if I was a single PM, I'd be looking at productivity too. But I want you to think about trust. Anyone who's worked with me will know that I bang on a lot about a book I read in 2001. It was very formative. This is it. It's a bit pixelated. I would say go and read it, but clearly you just need to ask an AI to summarise it for you with the key points. You should be able to cover it off in 25 seconds or something. It's well worth it though. I firmly believe in my career that I have moved ahead, or I've seen people move ahead, not because of the documents they wrote, or because they were in a certain company. It's been down to their ability to build trust in themselves, so of themselves, and people trust them, and then as a team, as a movement, as a product that they have built trust. They've built trust with customers, with their investors, et cetera, et cetera. If you have trust, you have momentum, and you're not grilled on every decision you do, okay? If you have trust, you are utilising all your skills. Read this book, it's really worth it. AI has the ability to superpower your trust. It is smart, and it's getting smarter and smarter. You will be smarter with it, you just need to use it carefully. So don't use it to cut corners. A stupid way to use AI and to ruin your credibility would be to outsource your thinking. Go and create for me a competitive, a review of all the competitors and what they've done in the last few months, and then slap that into a slide deck, which I have seen people do. Okay, that's quick, it's productive, but it's risky. If you can't talk to it, because you've just outsourced your thinking, instantly when your stakeholder says, oh gosh, well, were you worried about this, what are we doing? And you have outsourced the thinking and the time, you're instantly exposed. So think really carefully about how you're using it. Use it more to review your thinking. Use it to gather things. I love the tasks, but spend time critically analysing what you would then put forward, or better still, claim and be really open about the fact that you've used AI to bring this together. There will be a time in the future you won't need to say, oh, and I used AI to do this. But I think if you're presenting content or insights, if you've written a document that you're passing over to a team and they think you've written it, I do still think we're at the stage where it's worth saying, hey, I used a tool to do this. And then you know what? If they say, oh, what's going on with that competitor and you didn't have the time to be on top of everything, you can say, you know what? Actually, I don't know because I pulled that bit together, but I can go and quickly find out. So use the lens of building credibility. Using, I'm verbose, you can't tell. I'm very aware of that, I've had a lot of feedback on that. But, so use AI to slim down your slides. Use AI to work on your speech notes. Credibility, reliability, how wonderful. Tasks coming to you every day. What I was thinking when I was seeing that is, isn't that awesome how Perrin has equipped herself with insight and knowledge? That's amazing. The unlock would be to work on your self-orientation and to actually then share that information. Okay, so be a change maker, be a PM that like actually makes everyone else more powerful, be a PM that builds trust with people. Get that information, synthesize it, and then share it with the engineering team once a week or every day. You couldn't, like in the old days, that would kill you every week. I'm going to pull this sort of newsletter together or something. But you could do that really quickly, and don't do it just for the board and the board presentation. Do it to equip your team. Instantly, you're building trust with that team. Intimacy, that people feel safe with you. I think this is again about being upfront about what you are and aren't using. And I think being aware that actually this topic for a lot of people is quite triggering. So that stubborn software engineer, you know, they're just a person who needs to pay a mortgage and, you know, has put themselves out there and feels uncomfortable, or, you know, all of this sort of stuff, right? We're all going through some sort of change cycle, trying to work out whether this is just some whiz-bang word that's going to pass, or whether this is something that's going to fundamentally change our jobs and perhaps not for the way that we would want it to. So make sure you're trying to create a space where people feel safe, be open and honest about what you're using, and take people in on the journey with you. Again, another thing I've read, and we were talking about it earlier, Kathleen, is people are making good progress on their own, where they feel safe in their own sandbox on AI. Teams aren't making the kind of progress. So how do you make people feel safe in using these tools together? How do you normalize it? If you can kind of use that lens on your use of AI, my gosh, you're powerful and you're a leader and you're the kind of product person people want in their team, right? Just provocation. The next thing I would talk about is add value. If you don't want to be viewed like a cost center, sorry, I did it again. If you don't want to be viewed like a cost center, don't act like one, okay? And this is coming from a lady whose team just got reduced by about a third. Is it Tanya? Like, we've just been reduced by a third. Engineering ratio-wise was not reduced. So we're down to throwing frisbees to each other, you know, and so there is a lot of productivity expectation, I think, on product and engineering. Like every kind of budget meeting I've ever been to, other than the real heyday, it's all around people not believing our estimates or why it all takes so long. You know, there are so many CFOs and investors out there wanting to finally see that engineering and product's going to be cheaper. Okay, so you are going to have this pressure on productivity, but don't just give in to that. Remember what product's for. What product's for is creating value, and we are entering potentially this like seismic change of how customers are going to interact with businesses, how businesses can be created, how cheaply businesses will be able to be created. So, you know, if you're feeling comfortable, you're going to have other competitors coming through that previously wouldn't have gotten near you. Use this, like this is potentially a golden age for product people, right? So, you know, you've got a choice to be drawn into the productivity improvements for product people, and like not discounting what we've seen today, I think you must, but also pull yourself out and focus on what the opportunities are for customers, for the business. Look at what other patterns are out there. You don't have to invent everything. Look at what you can be plugging into your product. I know skeptically you might be like, oh, that's just AI washing, you know, sticking a thing into my product and, you know, woo, we've got AI in our product and all that kind of jazz, and I'm with you. But I tell you what, your investors and your shareholders and your CEO and your CFO and your customers are expecting some form of innovation from you. And if you're not doing it, they're wondering why you're not. And you know, it'd be best if you're leading that rather than being told to do it. We've all been in a position where you end up getting told some super duper person's idea of what you need to do and just do it. I want that by Christmas. We're going to have that. We are going to have AI. You know, if you don't want to find yourself in that meeting, you need to just lean into the customer pain and lead the charge of getting AI into your product or into your service. Because if you aren't doing that over the next 2 years, I just think companies are going to be wondering why they haven't got them on the bandwagon. And they'll probably be looking at the product team and asking if you're innovative or not. You know, so that's kind of like just the harsh truth of that one, in my opinion. The other thing is, as much as it's compelling again to be drawn into the productivity gains of some of the delivery activity that we do as product managers, I urge you to really focus on your discovery skills, your presentation skills, your influencing, your ability to understand politics, your commercial acumen. I really urge you to build personal relationships within the organisation and to remember that they are skills that they are all part of the beauty of product and what we do, and they are not replaceable. So again, if you don't want to be looked at like a cost centre, be something that's not easy to code. Sorry, that's a bit scary. If you're into that kind of stuff, then it's not scary at all. It's like, fantastic, I can stop worrying about writing some of these documents because I'm going to use John's template and I'm going to go and spend my time doing the stuff that is going to change the business and satisfy customers and you know, work well for my stakeholders. And then look, my last point, and this is just because, again, probably because of where I'm at in my life, where we get all these people saying, "Oh, what are you going to do?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm going to find a job." You know, but secure your seat in this. Whether you're a skeptic and you think this is all just sort of something and it's going to pass or not, I mean, you need to find your place on that. I don't think it is just going to pass. And you know, for what it's worth, it's not just AI. Like, AI happened or is happening because of our addiction and our use of phones and wearables. It's happening because of you know, cloud computing. It's happening because everything and everyone lives their life online. It's like AI is just the next wave. Like, don't resist it and secure your seat. So if you want to be a product manager that's the CPO in 10 years or in 5 years or in 3 years, if you personally want to move your career on in product, then you need to be working in this space some way, I would say. And if your company is a stubborn company that's not interested, and you have tried to do hackathons, and you've tried to change it and have an AI guild, and you know, you've been open about the fact you're using tools and they're all, you know, frightened of it, or we were talking earlier about whether you're allowed to use Copilot or not. I mean, if they're sort of really dragging their heels on all this stuff, I just question whether they are going to be the right place for you to thrive at some point. Because if you are to thrive as a product manager that understands the latest technology, you've got to unashamedly be using it, and you've got to unashamedly be looking at customer problems with that as a lens. And if you find that your company's not doing that, it's like, I'm not telling you to change your jobs, but secure your seat, become part of the wave. They say, you know, software engineers, it's over, or product management's dead. I don't think it is at all. I think we're actually going into a potentially extremely creative stage of business and customer solutions powered by digital. We are going to be at the forefront of that. We're just probably not going to do things exactly like we were. And you know, you're either going to be catching up on that, or get at the front of the wave and be a leader of it, and you know, frankly, you know, pay your mortgage quicker, you know, and not be ashamed of it. It's all good. So that's what I had to say. I think we've got Q&A next? And I'm dead keen to hear from all of you as well in terms of what you're using and what your thoughts are. So over to Anthony.
All right. Thanks to all of our presenters. Thank you so much, everyone. You did a fantastic job. Can I ask all the presenters to come up, and we'll do a quick. We're running a little bit late, so we'll do a quick Q&A. Come up here.
First of all, great presentation, everyone. Thank you so much. Very specific question. So many companies are concerned about their IP to be exposed to the LLMs. What are your views on that? How do we address that concern from the management?
I mean, I'm happy to take that one if other people want to. That is definitely a concern that I feel a lot, particularly when you're talking to your security officer. And if you are just using ChatGPT out there and uploading a whole bunch of documents, yeah, it's going to get used. It's going to get used to training and all that. Now, there are a bunch of obviously private options for you as well to kind of ring fence that. So that is a little bit more technical, but there definitely are options where you can kind of ring fence that information off where it's not going to be used. I've used some services like Clue.ai is pretty good at that, where you can obviously, it takes into account a lot of different AI models, and then you can kind of ring fence that off and only keep it with your information. For instance, that's something that we've used at Colab to actually look at some of our content. We've got like a private ring fence AI, and we'll use ChatGPT to kind of do the front end of that, but yeah, it's all blocked off. It's not going to be used for the general LLM training.
I was going to say, that sounds like one of those organisations that's stubborn. Do you know what I mean? Like if they're not somehow creating the space for you to do things safely, they're being ignorant of what it is their employees are doing.
It's actually, for us, it's opposite because we have many co-pilots. So I have a corporate co-pilot license at the same time. So how do I make sure that I don't leak our company information into the LLM?
Most of the tools have something that allows you to just disallows it from doing that. Right? So in fact, I think all of the tools do now. You might have to pay, so pay for that feature, but they all have that. So,
yeah, earlier we talked about customer journey mapping and how AI can help with that. So one of the most tedious things I've done is, I've done it twice actually, product board first and then with Jira product discovery is setting the parameters for prioritization and can an AI help with that? Have you guys had any experience with that? Yeah. Because like I use RISE currently, but have in the past we've had like discussions. We'll get into a meeting and other
So I think what you're looking for is an example of where AI has been used to do prioritization.
Yeah.
Anyone had to go with that?
I wouldn't currently try and use AI for prioritization. I mean, there isn't a tool that you would think is a tool.
Again, I'm not looking for a shortcut or anything. It's just the process. That's all.
It's the art of product. It's the magic of product. It's where all that politics comes in. It's the subjectivity. It's the business strategy. It's a whole heap of stuff that no AI has been trained on, and maybe you could train it. I personally wouldn't use it.
I feel dirty because I do it all the time.
I wouldn't use it.
But I'm like fake on everything. Like I'm just making shit up all the time here. The best way is Adi's example with the audio ChatGPT. Like so, in the morning, I will put that in my car instead of listening to podcasts, and I will go through. Here's because the business, I used to work for an organization where the feedback loop was 18 months. The feedback loop here is 18 minutes. Like it is so fast. Like what we down to as a business today on, what's today? Wednesday? Thursday? Wednesday?
Wednesday.
Someone help me out? Thank you. The chat! No, Wednesday is completely different to where we were on Monday. It's just changing so fast. So what I do in the mornings is I'm going, okay, here's where the business was yesterday. These were the sorts of conversations that I had. This is where my roadmap is at. Here's what, help me ideate and help me start getting some patterns in terms of predictability on where we want to go. Tell me out of these conversations that I'm having with you, what are sort of the things that keep coming up over and over and over again? And by the end of like 2 weeks or 3 weeks, I started to notice that there were patterns in the change focus that were coming up based on certain meetings that the organization was having, whether or not, you know, folks were meeting at this X, Y, and Z, how quickly we were releasing, how slowly we were putting stuff out. And so what that allowed me to start doing was, I knew that I had to start prioritizing an automation feature every single week in order to keep everybody's yaps shut for a while. And that created an opportunity for us. And so that helped me prioritize automated activity inside of my roadmap at the expense of other activity. So it's stuff like that that starts to make you look like you're a little bit like smart, which I'll take, but it's that sort, like, it is so good at picking up patterns that it's hard for you, that you may not notice because you are walking through the forest and it sees the trees.
Also, one other thing to add to that, like, we might finally be in a world where our engineering teams can ship faster than we can come up with ideas. So prioritization is often around dealing with scarce resources. Well, what if the resources weren't scarce? You can just get stuff out there, see if it works, try it. So it might just actually change the game completely. We'll jump to another question. One online. So from Wendy, what was the AI interaction that most blew your hair back? Like, holy crap! Like, what was that?
For me, I think it was when I first encountered V0. Like, it's just, yeah, it's quite mind blowing because what I showed was just a video of what the mockup was, but you could actually see and go down the line of it was actually like a React app. I don't know how legit the code is, but you could actually like see, oh yeah, this is actually they built this. You could like I was saying before, you could actually connect your GitHub repo and quote unquote ship it. I haven't tried it myself, but that seems to be a feature in the dashboard. So that's probably when I was kind of like, oh yeah, this is going to be making life easier, I'd say.
I agree. I think something I tried from the technical side is I asked it to create me like a login experience with like the Bootstrap style sheets. It did it really well. I think the other thing that it did quite well was my last role was in the veterinary industry, and I really wanted to get some kind of customer quotes to kind of help things going on, and obviously I had a whole bunch of information from discovery. It was really good at emotions. You know, like if you don't know, veterinarians are in the top 3 for suicides, and you know, it was able to actually portray that in those customer quotes. You know, I'm not saying it's a suicide, but it really came across like, oh, that's actually really believable. It's spooky too.
Anything from Sora, like that shit just blows my mind. Like, crikey dick. Like, make me a video of standing on the moon while drinking a Coca-Cola being attacked by a polar bear, and it's like, I mean, holy cow, like that's better than any acid trip. Like, talk about ketamine. And then we don't have it here in New Zealand yet, but it's called Operator, and it literally is like, I don't know, it's all of a sudden, it's like you're able to replicate yourself and have an assistant out there. It's like, can you please bring me like a Diet Coke? And it's like, and there it is, and you're like, thank you. like that shit's gonna change our entire worldview. Like it's where AI meets like the real world, and it's like, forget about it. Just forget about it.
As well. It's a bit indulgent, but there's who's doing Duolingo at the moment, desperately trying to learn a new language. Yeah, okay, so I'm sort of banging away at French. I found this one, I can't remember its name, but a video. Take a video, say what you need to say. It thinks for a bit, and then it plays you back speaking in French. Oh no, I prefer Japanese. It plays me back saying the same thing in Japanese. Like it just that blew my mind, because for me, like it was me. It wasn't just some sort of like Donald Trump thing, it was like actually me. And I had a beautiful French accent, which I don't have. And yeah, sorry. And yeah, I just was like, this, you know, because we talk about having an agent at it's going to be an agent instead of a website, or an agent instead of a contact center, an agent instead of an email, an agent instead of a salesperson. I'm like, oh, everyone hates bots. No, I'm a really like quite sweet French talker. So that blew my mind, because I was like, I can see business and customer change with this.
What's the name of the tool?
I can't remember. I'm sorry, I'm a middle-aged woman, but it's on my phone.
And and on that Duolingo thing, I mentioned before about lots of sort of bullshit AI talks out there. There was a fantastic talk that was done at the Pandemonium conference last year that I went to. It is online. It's basically the head of design for Duolingo talking about how they were leveraging the fact that AI sort of acts a bit like, the GenAI acts a bit like a human, and how they've got that into sort of the user journey and whatnot. Really interesting. I will post a link as a comment on the article. Honestly, it's the best GenAI talk that I've heard until this one. All right, another question for the room. David.
Okay. Basically, the way that I look at AI, it's closer to a chimpanzee in the way that it learns than it is to a human being. So you can teach a chimpanzee when it's young to teach sign language, right? It's just rinse and repeat, because the thing is with AI, it can't deal with the edge case, right? How do you respond?
You need to read this article I read on the weekend.
I did say edge case.
Yeah, no,
we haven't got driverless cars.
No, it was just, and what the chap talked about on Monday night, AI is going to move the middle up to the upper middle. To reach a 10 out of 10, it needs a human. Like, it's not, I mean, maybe in 10 years or maybe in 4 years it's going to get there, and it probably will before then. But the majority I can really see is sort of mediocre. Like, my French is mediocre, and suddenly I'm talking in French.
Yeah, but that's not AI.
Well, what was it then?
Well, that's just replication. I said edge case, not replication. That's what the sign language is with
I
chimpanzee.
think to answer that, it's
I
probably
have to clarify.
we have to. So this is the one thing. The Duolingo talk actually does a really good job of explaining that. You have to think of generative AI as indifferent to the way that we're used to interacting with machines. We're used to telling computer, give me an answer to this, and we're used to going, that answer must be 100% correct. We employ armies of QA people to ensure that our code is 100% correct 100% of the time. GenAI is like dealing with a incredibly knowledgeable but slightly thick brand new intern, and we have to think of it. So it's not about going, how do we fix the edge case? It's about how do we change the interaction model to deal with that way of doing it. It's like talking to a, as I said, very knowledgeable, slightly dim human, and how do we get the most out of that interaction model rather than working with a machine that always gives us sort of an answer. Sorry, I'm going to take you. Jump in there, John, as well.
I agree. I think we kind of treat AI as like, it's a human, right? Like, I'm just talking like a human. It's not, right? It's something completely different. It almost kind of feels like sometimes we're living in Star Trek, and it's going to get better and better over time. But as soon as we start to treat it like a human, it gives us a response. Go, that wasn't what I expected. It's like, no, it's completely different. It's almost like, and I hate to do this because I know I get being recorded, but it almost feels like it's a different life form as well. And it's going to evolve. It'll get better. At some point, it's going to get like really uncanny. It's a chimpanzee now. It might just be like a 5-year-old next month, so it could be a 12-year-old next month. It gets better and better, but it's something different.
Yeah.
It's different.
Rather than it being perfect, I'm just curious with what it can do.
How do you cope with the occasional mistake? Yeah. Lisa had a question of that.
That's all right. I was going to make a comment rather than a
All
question.
right. We had some hands up over here, I think. Debbie.
Okay, so I have a question. So great presentations. I love hearing about all the different ways AI is being used. Lots of cool tips and tricks. And I think there was a bit of a common thread around securing your seat. I really liked what you said about that. I'm curious to know, now that we know all these tips and tricks, what are you personally doing, anyone can ask this, to secure your seat in the world that's changing a lot? Because I work in data, and we are seeing everything change so quickly at such a fast pace. So that's one thing to learn and to do things a bit quicker, but how do you still stay sharp and have that competitive advantage? What are things that you're doing that you can pass on to us?
The best advice I got on this, on how to stay relevant, is to Google your job description in Singapore. And you will find the delta of how you are not in any way, shape, or form equipped to do your job in Singapore. And once you figure that out, you now have a roadmap of skills that you're going to need to do the job you have right now in say, 18 months. There's a lot of talk right now about how we weren't going to reach singularity until 2050. They're now talking this year. the tools we have available here in the most beautiful country in the world is not the tools that are driving this forward in other parts of the world. So the best thing you can do is to act local and think global. And the best thing you can do for yourself is go, what's the job I want? And where is it the most modern, up-to-date version of itself? And work towards that. And that's the best advice that I personally have gotten, because I'm barely qualified for the job I have now. But I'm certainly not qualified for the job in Singapore. And you know, I'm a fucking rock star.
I'll add to that from a...
Yes, he agrees.
So like, can I ask what your background is? Like, are you...
Well, data and tech consultancy. So
Right.
I work in a media agency.
Right.
And so working with a whole bunch of different tools. So we have like, this is recorded. So Google and Meta, you know, they're incorporating AI into how the tools actually work, marketing tools actually work.
Yep.
There's like budget optimization laws now
Yep.
being implemented.
Yep.
So we do a bit of like coaching, test and learning, education, but also it's something new to us as well.
Right.
So it's like grappling with both.
Yeah. Like from a product craft perspective, I would say just start doing shit. Like, you know, I learned a lot of days, like, you know, when it first sort of like blew up, just by, I don't know, doing things, tinkering, and having like a personal project. Like I learned, oh, it's actually not that hard to connect to OpenAI API, you know, and a lot of the products out there is just like a wrapper, really, and you start to, by doing things, you start to get exposed to some of the language that other people would use, like some of the language that the engineers would use. But oh yeah, I know that, I've seen it before. So yeah, just start doing stuff, really. So in your case, maybe, I don't know, start doing things in that realm, I'd say.
Yeah, extend your comfort zone. I think that's, look, I come from a technical background, but no one should read my code at all. But you should expand your comfort zone to try new things as well. And I think that does help to be relevant. You know, maybe at some point we'll be all employed in Singapore. But it's, you know, it's being comfortable with trying stuff that's pretty scary. And like, oh, I didn't know I could do that. Turns out you can.
Oh, it'd be a good time in life to put half an hour aside every day. Yep. You know, there's different times in life for different things, and I think now's a good time in life to have your own personal learning, and then as a team, how are you trying to incorporate it and experiment, but make time for it, because otherwise you're going to find yourself behind.
Nobody in your office is going to say, right, go and spend an hour doing that. You're probably going to have to do it, you know, after 5 o'clock or on your weekend. But it's what's going to enable you to survive. And on that, make that the last question from the room. So we are wildly over time, and I really appreciate everyone taking the time and hanging around. There was one last question in the chat, and that was from Carolyn, who said, so when is AI going to replace product managers? Serious question. So knowing that we were running this event tonight, Marty Kagan published an article on that exact topic. Go to svpg.com, look at his latest article. It deals with exactly that. But the really, really short version of it is that the use of these tools is going to be an absolute superpower for product people, because we're going to be able to ideate, develop, deliver things faster than we've ever been able to before, and you know, it's actually going to make us more valuable, not less. I hope, I think, and that's kind of what Marty says. There's a whole bunch of other stuff around that as well, which is a really, really, really interesting article to read. So thank you. Anyway, round of applause for our presenters. Things that we have going on right now. So talk about the keynote. Massive thanks to AcademyEX for hosting us here. I know on the screen we'll leave up, there are some codes there for Francis Valentine's Q1 Business and Tech Briefing, which is apparently really interesting, and also a code for $100 off the April intake. There's something to mention there if you want to get 15% discount on coded cohorts. Thank you to John for that. For more information about that, go and see John. I've got Product Aotearoa there. So Product Aotearoa is the New Zealand-wide organisation that we've set up to connect the product community. Go to productaotearoa.org.nz. There's a link there to join our Slack. That's the best way to get connected to us and continue the conversation. We are planning a Product Aotearoa Unconference. It's an online virtual conference for April, so watch out for that. We're also very pleased to announce that yes, there will definitely be a 2025 New Zealand in-person conference. It will be in Auckland. And it will be, we're still working on the date, thank you. We're still working on the exact date, but it's going to be probably late October, early November, sometime in that time window. So if you are putting your training budgets together this year, please think about us.